Today on the Amazons, we are going to be talking something very serious. We don't like to talk about it, but it's an issue. Saving the first time for the wedding night.
Like you said, back in the days, it was a thing of pride. There was some big celebration attached to it, But is it still fashionable these days?
They said people even used to have a handkerchief then to show that the husband will come out with a handkerchief and say, yes, she was a virgin.
The realities are on the ground. But we have a generation that are smarter than us. Some of us made our mistakes because somebody promised to marry you, but at the end of the day, he dumped you, and so you suffer a broken heart.
Ideally, most guys are looking out for brand new, they remove the nylon and all of those things.
Yeah, Robert.
I didn't go out of my way looking for a virgin.
It's a new thing to you. Yeah, it's, exactly. You won't have it all the time, and you can't hold it.
It varies.
It depends. But in the other parts also, it's when you are not a virgin and probably you've seen life or something, you just really want to settle down, face it. Then your husband, even though he doesn't give it to you, after I've seen life.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Amazons.
How are you? Thank you so much. Our beautiful audience, thank you very much. Everybody is looking so handsome and beautiful this morning. How are you? Today on the Amazons, we are going to be talking something very serious. We don't like to talk about it, but it's an issue. Saving the first time for the wedding night. I'm talking to you, boys and girls. Silo Omasan. Marriage, they say, is sacred. Everything about marriage, our values as Africans and Nigerians. They say when a bride goes to her husband's house, she should be intact. In fact, it is celebrated when you meet your bride intact. But that was in the old days. Gone are the days. Today, do we still have such things as meeting the bride intact on the wedding night?
Well, like you said, back in the days, it was a thing of pride. There was some big celebration attached to it, But is it still fashionable these days?
They said people even used to have a handkerchief then to show that the husband will come out with a handkerchief and say, yes, she was a virgin. She is a virgin.
In the morning.
Yes, in the morning. You understand? So,
But the emphasis is on the bride. What about the bridegroom? How do you know if the bridegroom, if the wedding night is the first night?
Because I was reading this book, it makes for an interesting read. But apparently, the irony is in the title of the book itself. And it said, only one virgin. There was two people there now, but only one person was a virgin.
Exactly.
So what
what
about that,
happened
Aisha?
to the other person?
So that's the thing. I think the emphasis is usually on the female children to remain intact and not the men, which I think might not be very correct, because there are two people involved here. So
Correct.
both people have to be, tutored towards the same direction.
Correct. Because really, if you're saying only the bride should be intact, the bride should save herself for the, the first time for the wedding night. What about the boy? We are mothers. We raise our children. Yeah. The values we give to the daughters are quite different from those that we give to the boys. So we are guilty in some aspect
completely guilty
of this argument, aren't we?
Yes, because even backstage, before we came on stage, we're talking about this issue, and then we're like, you're training your daughter differently from your son, who they're about maybe the same age or thereabout, and then they're seeing the boy moving around with other people, other girls, they're about their age, and so they're wondering what makes him different.
If anything at all, in Nigerian society, they sometimes encourage the boys and say, he's a boy, now let him go out and sow his wild oats, Abi?
That's what they say.
But that boy, if that boy is sowing his wild oats, he's doing it with somebody's daughter. So
and someone is watching.
Correct.
His sister.
But another point, Silo and Omasan, is this. If you are saving the girl for the wedding night, and the boy is allowed to,
So he's wild.
Wild oats.
to be adventurous, so to
Yes.
say. What then happens? You have peer pressure on the girl child.
Okay.
Sex is everywhere these days. I mean, let's be honest. Sex is everywhere.
everywhere.
you turn.
Billboards.
On TV, on
You know what's
billboards,
so
on the
interesting
social
about
media.
the
So
way-
how do you get the girl, not to be an exception?
Sex sells. That's
Everything.
what they say these days. You understand? Sex sells. So, like you was going to say.
I was trying to say something that, sex sells so much that even things that are not related to sex, you use, like toothpaste, you can
Yes.
use sex to sell it because people are going to be interested.
Interested,
And then the kinds of songs and stuff we hear around,
It's all
sex. So
booty, booty,
it's
booty.
peer pressure, really. So I think we should be looking at the boys. I think if we work more on the boys, unlike the way we have been working on the girls, it
I
might
think-
make a difference.
Exactly, but I think one of the things, though, Silo, is that they say that when a bride comes in and she's pure, you understand that she's less likely to venture outside of the marriage or cheat. You understand? Like if you marry a woman that's a virgin, that means that she's going to be
Omasa, do you really
totally
believe that?
faithful. Me, I don't believe that. I even think it's the opposite.
Exactly.
That woman will want to experience
And
something else. Abi Aisha.
You see, biblically and in our values and tradition, it is the right thing to do.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
for all that it is worth. Aside from the fact that the girl is it's reserved, it's protected. You also have the boys too. If you go about being adventurous, you have the chances of catching these diseases. You have the chances of sleeping with the wrong partner. You have the chances of having a child outside of marriage when you're not ready for it. So the consequences far outweighs whatever. I mean, I don't want to say that there's any pleasure.
Okay.
The pleasure is for the moment, Omasa.
Yes.
The pleasure is for the moment. We do need to talk about this because some people also argue that if you do not do it before you get married, it can also be a problem.
Yes.
It can also be a problem.
Yes, and that the women are inexperienced. That if you marry a virgin, she has no clue, of course, because she's never had premarital sex before. So a lot of men say they want to test the waters. They want to know what they are buying. And some men even want the woman pregnant
I
before
think there's
marriage.
something
So
here. They're making it
how
look
do we
like
balance it?
sex is one of it's one of the major things that will happen when you get married, but it's not the main thing. What do you
Okay.
think?
It's
not
not-
the main thing because she has other things.
But it's a
she's got
big
other things
factor.
involved.
It's a big factor in marriage. I mean, you go into a marriage, you do not have the knowledge of the sexual preferences of your partner.
Oh.
That is you see where the
exactly.
problem can
No.
come
come
from.
in.
No, I think
unless we are
sexual
saying
preferences-
you already know that you are going to stay with this partner anyway, so we might as well.
No.
I don't know if that is advisable.
Omasa would understand what I'm talking about. Talking about sexual preferences, you
Okay.
never really find out those preferences until you live with the
person.
for
Yeah.
a period of time. And the person might be very pretentious, and you might not even get to know until you stumble.
Upon them, and that comes with time. Like there's a very famous, let me not mention his name, that is now having a big problem over in the set that he used to drug women to, and that just came out like 20 years after. Or more. You understand? So that is why a lot of men will want to say, let them test, and some men will tell you that they cannot deal with a virgin, that they do not mind a woman. We live in a fast world nowadays. Maybe you've had one or two, not the one that has gone with the whole neighborhood ahead. So they say they don't mind, but
Saving the first time for the wedding night. That's what we are talking about on the Amazons today. How much of yourself should you save for your wedding night? Your whole self or partly? Because I also understand they say there are some secondary virgins, whatever that means.
What does that mean?
If you've abstained for a very long time,
yes,
you now become a
yes.
secondary virgin. We are talking about the first-time virgins, the pure ones, not the secondary ones. We'll be back talking after the break. You're watching Amazons.
Many people that go into premarital sex lose their honor. It brings shame in African society like Nigeria and the church in particular. It brings shame to the family and to the body of Christ. It is a sin before God. When you honor God, God honors you. So we advise that young generation coming hold themselves before they go into marriage. In our culture in Nigeria, where I come from precisely, if you get married as a virgin, there is a special gift that the family of the husband will take to your family to show that you are well trained. Societal tendencies of new age does not change what God says.